The night air carried a strange chill as Amelia stood by the balcony of her mansion, staring at the lights of Lagos flickering in the distance. Cars honked from far below, voices drifted from the street, but her heart heard only silence. Frank had promised to be home for dinner again, yet the food sat untouched, the wine unopened, the laughter she once knew absent. She remembered when he used to surprise her with flowers, when his hands never left hers, when their promises still tasted like spring rain. But lately, every excuse felt rehearsed, every smile slightly off, and every phone call conveniently hidden. She had grown up surrounded by wealth. Yes, but her father had insisted that integrity was greater than any estate. He often told her, "Amelia, riches without honesty are chains in disguise." His sudden death months ago had left her adrift, vulnerable in ways she hadn't admitted to anyone. Frank, once her anchor, now seemed like a stranger with secrets slipping through his lips. And though Amelia tried to dismiss the knot in her stomach, the unease grew heavier with each passing day. Dennis, the family driver, observed quietly. His loyalty to Amelia's late father made him more than just an employee. He was almost like an unseen guardian. He had witnessed Frank instructing him to park near odd locations, private apartments, boutique hotels, when the man claimed to be attending board meetings. He caught fragments of phone conversations, words like shares, accounts, and a woman's laughter, always followed by abrupt silence when footsteps approached. Though he swallowed his suspicions at first, his conscience began to gnaw. He owed Amelia's father too much to remain passive. After all, it was her father's financial support that saved his own family when debt threatened to swallow them whole. One evening, Amelia's world tilted when she discovered a hotel guest card tucked carelessly inside Frank's suit pocket. It bore the logo of a luxury suite, a place they had once visited for their anniversary. Her breath caught. Memories of that weekend clashed violently with the thought of him sharing it with another. She clutched the card, debating whether to confront him outright, but fear of his denial and her own fragile hope kept her silent. Instead, she folded the evidence into her purse, as if locking away her growing dread. But Amelia was not a woman easily fooled for long. She noticed how Frank's affection had turned into performance, gifts arriving on the wrong dates, compliments muttered without eye contact. Even her anniversary necklace, a radiant diamond piece, seemed less like a token of love and more like an attempt to cover tracks. And when she saw him take a late-night call, his back turned, whispering, "Belinda, soon she won't even be in the way," her blood ran cold. She did not understand the full meaning, but the name burned into her memory. Dennis, too, pieced together fragments. He saw Frank's car parked outside a boutique cafe far from the office. He noticed the same perfume lingering in the back seat, not Amelia's familiar scent, but something floral and sharp. And though Dennis's heart thundered in conflict, his role as driver demanded silence. His loyalty demanded action. He remembered Amelia's father's final words to him. "Look out for her, Dennis. Promise me you'll look out for her when I'm gone." Those words became chains pulling at his conscience. Inside Amelia's mind, storm clouds gathered. She replayed every excuse, every canceled dinner, every sudden business trip. Were they truly about board meetings? Or was her entire marriage unraveling like threads pulled from silk? She wanted to believe in Frank, to cling to the memory of the man she married, but the evidence kept whispering otherwise. And deep down, her father's old saying echoed like a bell. Trust people, but confirm. One night, as Amelia walked through the hall lined with portraits of her family, she stopped at her father's frame. His smile, captured forever in a photograph, reminded her of strength wrapped in kindness. "Papa," she whispered, "what if I've trusted the wrong man?" Her voice trembled, but the mansion answered only with silence. She turned away, unaware that Dennis, standing discreetly by the door, had heard the crack in her words. He clenched his fists, determined that he would no longer let shadows swallow the truth. Amelia decided to act. She began quietly scanning her father's old files, tucked in drawers and cabinets Frank never bothered with. To her shock, she found documents with suspicious signatures, property transfers that bore her husband's name where her father's should have been. The handwriting did not match, the dates clashed with reality. Something was terribly wrong. Her unease deepened when she recalled the hotel card still sitting in her purse, a silent witness to betrayal. Meanwhile, Frank arrived home late that night, smelling faintly of expensive cologne not his own. Amelia studied him carefully, hiding her turmoil beneath calm eyes. "How was the meeting?" she asked softly. "Stressful, as always," he replied, dropping his jacket without meeting her gaze. She forced a smile, but her heart screamed. Later, alone in her room, she held the hotel card against her chest and whispered, "If only Papa were here to guide me." Her doubts were now too heavy to ignore, and Dennis, watching from the margins, knew that the time to remain silent had passed. He could not yet reveal everything he knew. How could a driver accuse a man of wealth and influence without risking dismissal? But his determination hardened. He would find a way to reach her, to protect her from a betrayal that threatened not only her marriage, but perhaps her very life. And so, the tension thickened in the mansion. Amelia felt torn between love and suspicion, while Dennis wrestled with loyalty and fear. Frank moved freely, convinced his secrets were hidden, unaware that eyes sharper than his own followed every move. The city outside bustled with its usual rhythm, but inside those walls, hearts were preparing for a storm that would shatter illusions and reveal truths darker than Amelia could yet imagine. Dennis had rehearsed the words 100 times in his head, yet when the moment came, his courage tangled itself with fear. Amelia had just stepped out of the mansion's library, a stack of her father's files pressed to her chest, her face pale but composed. He could see she was hurting, her eyes rimmed with sleeplessness, her hands trembling despite her attempt to appear strong. He wanted desperately to protect her, to lift the weight she carried, but the driver of a wealthy household could not simply accuse the master of deceit without proof. His throat ached with the words unsaid, and then, in one reckless heartbeat, he acted. "Madam," he whispered, stepping forward, his voice hoarse. Before his mind could stop him, he leaned in and pressed his lips to hers, quick, desperate, almost clumsy. It was not a kiss born of romance, but of urgency, of a man too bound by duty to scream the truth aloud. Amelia gasped, her files slipping from her arms, scattering papers across the polished floor. For a breathless moment, silence consumed them both, until her shock gave way to fury. "How dare you?" she exclaimed, shoving him back, her chest rising with indignation. "Dennis, have you lost your senses? You forget yourself." Her voice cracked not only with anger, but with the betrayal of trust. She turned to leave, but he dropped to his knees, hands raised, desperation tearing through his composure. "Forgive me, madam. I had no other way to make you listen," Dennis pleaded. His words tumbled out like stones rolling downhill. "Frank is not who you believe he is. He is seeing another woman, Belinda. I've heard their calls, seen where he goes. He is planning something with her, something that involves your accounts, your father's businesses. Please, believe me, I beg you." Amelia froze. Her heart slammed against her ribs. "What are you saying?" she whispered, her anger tangled with dread. She studied his face, the raw sincerity in his eyes, the fear etched in his trembling hands. Dennis was not a man given to lies. She had known him long enough to recognize truth burning through his words. He gathered the scattered papers, holding them out to her. "I know my actions were wrong, madam, but I could not stand by. Your father saved my family. I swore to protect you when he passed. And now, Frank, he is not only unfaithful, he is plotting to destroy you." Amelia staggered back, her breath uneven. "You expect me to believe that my husband would betray me so deeply?" Her voice was hollow, but deep down, she knew the signs had been there all along. She clutched the edge of a chair for balance, recalling the hotel card, the perfume in the car, the mismatched documents. Dennis hesitated, and then lowered his voice. "I overheard him on the phone last week. He spoke to Belinda about moving money from your accounts. And worse, he spoke of making your death look like an accident. I swear on my mother's grave, I heard it with my own ears." The words struck like lightning, shattering the last thread of Amelia's denial. She sank into the chair, her face drained of color. For a long moment, she said nothing, only stared at the marble floor where the reflection of the chandelier wavered like her trust. Her husband, the man who had once sworn eternal love, was plotting her death. Dennis knelt beside her, cautious not to overstep again. "Madam, I know this is heavy, but you must be careful. He is clever, and he thinks no one suspects him. Please, let me help you. Together, we can find the truth. Tears pricked Amelia's eyes, but she blinked them away, her voice low but steady. Papa always told me, trust people, but confirm. If what you say is true, then I must confirm it myself. She looked at Dennis, her gaze sharper now, the fear mingled with determination. Help me gather proof. I won't confront him until I have evidence he cannot deny. The days that followed were tense. Amelia played her part as the loyal wife, smiling at Frank over breakfast, listening to his empty stories, even laughing when he jested. But behind her calm mask, she recorded phone calls, copied files, and traced signatures. Dennis shadowed Frank's movements, noting every location, every time Belinda appeared in the picture. Together, they pieced a puzzle more sinister than either had imagined. One night, Amelia crept down the stairs and overheard Frank in the study. His voice was low but sharp, and Belinda's laughter tinkled through the speakerphone. Soon, my love, he murmured, her accounts will be drained. The shares will be transferred. She suspects nothing, and when the time is right, her accident will be the final page. Amelia pressed her hand to her mouth to stifle a cry. It was no longer suspicion, no longer a maybe. It was truth, naked and cruel. She slipped away before he could notice her shadow, her heart thundering so loudly she feared he might hear it through the walls. When she returned to her room, Dennis was waiting by the door, as if sensing her anguish. She told him everything, her voice breaking. He means to kill me, Dennis. My own husband wants me gone. Dennis clenched his fists, fury flashing across his usually calm features. Then we will not let him win, madam. We will trap him with his own words. We will gather enough evidence that no lawyer, no influence, no bribe can erase. Amelia nodded slowly, determination settling over her like armor. The woman who had once felt powerless was gone. In her place stood a daughter who carried her father's wisdom and strength. The kiss she had resented now seemed like the turning point, the reckless act that opened her eyes to truth. She glanced at Dennis, seeing not just a driver, but an ally bound by loyalty and courage. And so, the plan began to form. A trap woven with patience and precision, one that would bring Frank's empire of deceit crashing down upon him. Amelia's hands no longer trembled when she fastened her necklace the next morning. The diamonds caught the sunlight, glittering like tiny sentinels, though she now understood it was little more than a recycled gift of guilt. Frank had once promised her forever with such trinkets, but she now saw them as masks, pretty distractions concealing ugly truths. This time, she wore the necklace deliberately, a reminder of what she had uncovered and a warning of the game she was now willing to play. The plan took shape slowly. Dennis suggested they let Frank believe his web was still intact, feeding his arrogance until he tripped on his own schemes. Amelia agreed, though every breakfast felt like poison when she watched her husband smile across the table. She endured his charm, his casual lies, even the way he touched her hand as though affection had not soured. She played her role so well that Frank, blinded by greed, never suspected that his wife had transformed from pawn to strategist. It was Dennis who first suggested recording devices hidden in plain sight. He trusts his own voice too much, Dennis said one evening as they reviewed files together in the library. One day, he will speak freely, and those words will bury him. Amelia agreed, her resolve hardening. She felt her father's presence in those long nights, as though he were whispering encouragement. Be brave, my child. Protect what I built, and protect yourself. The opportunity came during what should have been a tender moment. Their wedding anniversary approached, and Frank presented Amelia with another lavish gift, a watch engraved with her initials. She forced a smile, though her heart ached knowing Belinda had likely worn it first. That night, she suggested they discuss financial matters, pretending she wanted to secure her future with him. Frank's eyes lit up with a greed he did not bother to hide. My darling, he said smoothly, pouring them both wine. It would make things simpler if I managed your accounts. Less for you to worry about. Amelia tilted her head, feigning hesitation. You're right, she murmured. Perhaps I should trust you with everything Papa left me. Her words tasted bitter, but Dennis's small recorder, hidden in the bouquet of roses, hummed silently to life. Frank leaned closer, arrogance loosening his tongue. Soon, it will all be ours. Belinda and I will be free to enjoy it all. You won't stand in the way much longer. He chuckled, swirling his wine as though he had already claimed his victory. The confession was clear, undeniable. Amelia's stomach churned, but she kept her composure, raising her glass in false agreement. Inside, her fury burned with controlled precision. She had him exactly where she wanted him. The next days were a blur of careful moves. Amelia transferred copies of documents, saved recordings, and worked quietly with a discreet lawyer her father had once trusted. Dennis drove her to secret meetings, always watching the rearview mirror for shadows of Frank's men. Together, they built a fortress of evidence so strong that even Frank's wealth could not topple it. The confrontation arrived sooner than she expected. Amelia arranged a dinner, the table adorned with candles, the kind of setting that once celebrated their love. Frank arrived, smug and unsuspecting. She let him speak of business, of dreams, of the future he imagined without her. Then, at the perfect moment, she pressed play on the recorder. His own voice filled the room, damning him with every syllable: Belinda's name, the stolen accounts, the chilling mention of her death. Frank's face drained of color. "Amelia, you don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," she cut in, her tone sharper than steel. "I understand that the man I married plotted not only to betray me, but to erase me. I understand that you never loved me, only what I inherited. And I understand," she paused, meeting his eyes without flinching, "that you are finished." At her signal, plainclothes officers stepped from the shadows of the room. Frank stammered, reaching for excuses, but the handcuffs silenced his protests. For once, his power meant nothing. Amelia watched as he was led away, the man who once swore to protect her now exposed as her greatest threat. In the weeks that followed, justice moved swiftly. Frank faced charges of fraud, theft, and conspiracy to commit murder. His reputation crumbled, his allies abandoned him, and Belinda fled the city, her illusions of luxury evaporating with his downfall. Amelia signed the divorce papers without hesitation, reclaiming her freedom and her father's legacy in one stroke. But Amelia's story did not end with vengeance. She poured her energy into rebuilding with purpose, establishing the Henry Foundation in her father's name. The foundation supported widows, orphans, and struggling students, offering hope where wealth had once been hoarded. The newspapers hailed her as a woman of strength, but Amelia cared only for the lives she touched, the quiet gratitude that reminded her of her father's vision. Through it all, Dennis remained by her side. No longer just a driver, he became her confidant, her personal aide, the steady presence she could lean on without fear. Their bond, born of loyalty and tested by fire, deepened into something neither dared to name too soon. For Amelia, healing took time, and Dennis respected that, standing not as a replacement for what she had lost, but as a reminder that love could grow even from the ashes of betrayal. On a quiet evening, as they walked through the garden her father once tended, Amelia glanced at Dennis with a soft smile. "You kept your promise," she said. Dennis bowed his head slightly. "It was never a burden, madam. Your father's trust, it is my honor." She touched his arm gently. "Not madam, Dennis. Amelia. Call me Amelia." The weight of titles fell away, replaced by something simpler, more human. The mansion, once a prison of secrets, now brimmed with laughter again. Hers, Dennis's, even the children from the foundation who often visited. And though scars of betrayal lingered, Amelia knew she had emerged stronger, her heart no longer caged by fear. She had faced the darkness and claimed her dawn. At its core, Amelia's journey reminds us that betrayal cannot erase resilience, and wealth means little without trust. Her courage shows that no matter how deep the wound, healing and new beginnings remain possible when we surround ourselves with loyalty and honesty. Dennis's devotion proves that kindness and sacrifice can outshine status, and that sometimes unexpected allies become family. For everyone listening, when life feels heavy, remember, you've got this. It's okay to feel fear, but it's braver to face it. Like, share, subscribe, and comment what lesson spoke most to your heart.